Goedemorgen, je luistert nog steeds naar OchtendRitme. In de studio is een drukke studio. Ik heb namelijk de gasten van Enter Shikari in de studio. Good morning, guys.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
Yeah, we're a bit bleary-eyed. We've literally just got kicked out of bed about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So excuse us if we're stretching and yawning, but we'll get through it.
That's no problem. So, you had a show last night? I heard?
We did,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, it was the first one of the tour, Lille.
Yeah, how was it?
It was good. Yeah, it was. It wasn't the busiest show in the world, but everyone that was there was full of energy and excitement and coffee.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
You good? I can't drink coffee. It'll send me balmy.
Yeah, it was a good start to the tour.
Okay, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes. Voor iedereen die nu die net inschakelt, ik heb dus de gasten van Enter Shikari in de studio en vanaf nu zal het interview in het Engels zijn, want Nederlands dat verstaan ze natuurlijk niet. Okay, so I've got a couple questions about the band. How did you came together as a band?
We were all friends at primary school.
Yeah.
So we'd known each other for a very long time, and we performed in different types of bands. We were a 5-piece at one point, just playing covers at our local school, and then kind of started to become a bit more serious. We performed a sort of 3-piece kind of punk band, and then brought in different influences, and eventually ended up where we were today.
Okay. And sorry, as a band being, what do you like about each other? What brought you together?
It was the fact that we knew that we all played an instrument that brought us together.
Yeah.
So because we were pretty young kids at the time, and I suppose I was the only drummer on the block, and Rao and Chris were playing guitar together already and making sort of little radio programs, and I was the only drummer that they knew, so asked me to start playing with them. And then it was later on that we decided to sort of change our sound, and Rao wanted to move away from guitar and focus on electronics. And I had a good friend at school at the time who was a guitarist, so brought him in. So it was, we were all friends before the band, but it was just kind of local kids knowing that each other played the instruments that thought this would be fun.
It's like at school when you have just a small group of friends, so you only know like a few girls, so you just go out with the girl who lives down the street just because she's there. That's basically what happened with us.
Yeah, and you spent quite a lot of time with each other, I think also on tour.
Yeah, of course.
Do you sometimes get annoyed?
What, with each other?
Yeah, with each other.
Probably, yeah. But the thing is, sorry, just taking my jumper off, it's warm in here. I think because we've known each other for so long, you get to know when someone's getting annoyed and when to back off, or when someone needs a little push in the right direction, or when someone needs their own space. So even though we are literally living and working together for a lot of the year, you find there are ways to sort of help each other out, not press each other's buttons too much.
Yeah, and your personalities, do they get along, or are you quite different persons?
Well, I'd say we're quite different people, but that's what makes us get along.
Yeah.
I think perhaps that's why we sort of gel together well as a band, because we've all got we all bring our own thing to the group, I suppose. If we were all the same, then we might argue even more, or I don't know, have egos butting into each other or something.
We're all fairly laid back as well. Like I remember we did a tour in America where we shared our tour bus with another band, and they were just constantly arguing and bickering with each other. And if it was someone's turn to bring the equipment in or something and they didn't do it, they'd just be shouting. That just seemed like a lot of work, we were just a lot more chilled than that, I think, which helps.
Yeah. And do you all like the same music, or do you have different tastes in that too?
Well, we all have a pretty broad tastes in music, but I suppose we'll each, bring different styles to the table and introduce each other to different stuff. But we're all very, very open.
Yeah, and any guilty pleasures for music?
No. I don't
No?
believe in guilty pleasures. You shouldn't feel guilty from something that brings you pleasure. So no matter how cheesy or you know, sort of in brackets terrible it might be, if it brings you pleasure, then you shouldn't feel guilty from it.
Yeah. Got a question?
Yes, because you said you all have a very broad taste in music. Was that already like that from the start, or did it expand later on?
It was always pretty broad, really. We were quite lucky to grow up in a very diverse, like thriving music scene. So there was all kinds of, you know, every type of punk and metal and ska. And then also there was a thriving drum and bass scene, just like a little one in our city just outside London. We, obviously being just outside London, we got to watch like dubstep and grime grow from their very early beginnings. And then I was also brought up on a lot of Motown and Northern Soul, studied classical music at school. So there's just all of this stuff that was just there, waiting to be, you know, mangled together into some style that is Enter Shikari.
Yeah, and the name Enter Shikari, it's named after a boat of a family member.
Well, yeah, that was the first time I discovered the word, was because my uncle, his boat was called Shikari, yeah, and I was like, oh, that's a cool word, and sort of banked it.
Yeah, does it still work, the boat? Is it still floating?
No, he doesn't have that one anymore. He has another one. I can't remember what it's called now, but yeah. I don't know what happened to that one. Might have sunk.
Okay. Have you been on the boat?
Yeah, I used to go on it all the time as a kid. There's like pictures of me like 3 years old, like on the boat. And it's, you know, back in the late 80s, so my parents' fashion attire is questionable. You know, it's my dad in very short shorts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My mum with a big curly perm. It's great.
Really 80s show.
Yeah.
Really cool. Okay, I think it's time to listen to Live Outside.
Cool. Great. Yeah? Sounds good.
Okay.
I wanna live outside of all of this. I wanna live outside of all of this. I keep calling them back. I can't stand this attack. This neuron buzz is on another level. I'm on thin ice, I'm dancing with the devil. Can't sleep with the noise in this house. Can't meet the allure of this now. I can't sleep with the noise in this house. Why won't they pipe it down? I wanna live outside of all of this. 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 I keep taming, keep training, keep taming the horse, but it's wild, it's feral, and it's running its course. Patiently, madness wasting time in the reception room of my mind, waiting for the door to be left unattended and open for an unwanted guest. And it's so busy, I'd be surprised if I even noticed. I wanna live outside of all of this. I wanna live outside of all of this. I wanna live outside of all of this. I wanna live outside
Live Outside by Enter Shikari. And we've got the guys in the studio over here. Good morning, guys.
What's up?
Hey.
Yo.
How are you doing? Still okay?
Yeah.
A bit woken up?
Yeah, we're doing just about.
Okay, good.
Probably head back to the bus straight after and go straight back to bed.
Yeah.
Not to upset anyone listening who has to stay up and be at work all day. But.
Yeah, talking about sleep, you're on tour right now?
Yes.
How much do you sleep?
Not that much.
What, really?
Well,
I sleep quite a lot. Well, the thing is, you're on a tour bus. Well, not always on a tour bus, but this tour we're on a tour bus. And I personally find I sleep really well on the tour bus because you get into your little bunk. It's kind of like a cocoon, or a coffin doesn't sound as comfortable. But you're like in a cocoon, and you know the curtains are closed and it's quite quiet. And there's maybe sort of the hum of the engine. And you can carry on sleeping until sound check, which is normally until 3 PM if you wanted. So
I have a recurring dream where I think I'm in a coffin, and I sort of like half wake up, and because it's so dark, I'm like, ah, and I start banging on the walls, and then when I finally bang on the wall on the right, which is just a curtain, I'm like, oh, I'm in my bunk, you twat. You've just woken everyone up. Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it's terrifying at the time.
Yeah.
Night terror, I think they call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't sleep that well on anything that moves.
No?
So I struggle a bit, but it's all right.
Yeah, that seems to be hard.
Yeah.
And you're playing in Russia and the other east of Europe. Why do you play there? There aren't many bands playing in that part of Europe.
I don't know. We play anywhere that we can, really.
Anywhere that'll take us.
Yeah. And Russia has always been amazing for us. Maybe it's because it's not as many bands go there, but the first time we went there about 8 years ago, we had no idea what to expect because they don't use as much, or especially back then, they didn't use as much social media or the same type of social media as we did. So we were like going into the dark, and it was incredible. There was already like 2,000 people at our first show, so we didn't really have to work to get a fan base. We already had one. And it's just been growing ever since. We did 8 shows in Russia this time, so we went super far east as well.
We were on the border of Mongolia.
Yeah.
In a town called Irkutsk, which is so far ahead of, it's like 8 hours ahead of UK of GMT.
Yeah.
Which is weird coming back from Russia and sort of being jet lagged. When you think, well, the beginning of Russia is only over here, but then it's so big. It stretches really above everything, like the entire world, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was cool. It was right. The town was right next to the Lake Baikal, which is the deepest and oldest lake in the world. And it was completely frozen over, so we could all go out and walk on it and stuff. And there were trucks driving along it. And at one point, like, there was a big crack in the water, and you put your hand under. You could tell the ice was only about less than a foot deep, and you think this big, heavy truck is driving over it right next to this crack. Oh, I didn't want to stand too close to it, to be honest, but it was a great experience.
Great. And what's the best memory about touring? So this is a great story, but have you any other memories?
Best memory.
Oh, we would if only we could remember them.
Yeah, because you've been touring a lot. Don't you miss anything when you're on tour?
What,
about home? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we do. I think more so now that we're sort of a little bit older and we have more responsibilities and things at home. For example, sort of. Well, I don't want to say mortgages. You don't miss your mortgage, but so families and pets and stuff. I've got a cat that he misses, and I've got my dog and my wife, and there's sort of more at home now. But we've been doing it for 15 years, 17 years. Oh, in 2003,
16 years, I guess.
16 years. Thanks. My maths isn't too good.
It's still early.
Yeah, it's too early. It's too early. Blame it on that. But yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for so long. We've kind of grown up with it, and now it's part of our lives. I think if we spend too much time at home, we start getting bored and itchy feet and want to go back out on the road again.
Yeah, so this won't be the last tour.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
No.
How long do you think how many more tours will?
How much
there
more
be?
have we got in
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
We're not that old.
No, I'm not saying you're old.
I don't
I don't know, I'm feeling pretty old. Got one more left, I think.
He's joking.
Yeah, I get that. And what's the best tour you've been on?
This one.
Yeah? Why?
I don't know. It's only just started. I wouldn't be able to say. No, I'll tell you what. The best tour must have been Big Day Out in Australia. It was a touring festival that's no longer on anymore, unfortunately. But it was a day off in between each show, and it was in the Australian summertime. So our winter time. So go over there. There's glorious sunshine, and there was the shows were great, and then in between each one you got a day off out in Australia, and you can just go and enjoy the cities, and you put up in these nice hotels. And there was like after each one there was an after party, and the backstages were amazing with barbecues and like swimming pools and stuff. And that was the most fun one.
And what do you do in between these days when you have a day off?
Usually get over the hangover by floating in the swimming pool or walking around and enjoying the city.
Yeah, and what's your favorite thing to do when you're free? So just a bit walking around, seeing the cities, or?
Maybe just something to balance it, from the hectic, like days on. So, reading, yoga, just something that's completely different. Like, just takes you away from the crazy intensity of it all.
Yeah, I quite enjoy going and finding a cinema to just sort of, completely lose myself for a bit, forget that I'm on tour.
Yeah.
Detach yourself from the tour, and then when you come back, you feel so much more refreshed and, I'm on tour, yeah, let's do this.
Cool. Got a question?
Yes. Do you have any specific pre-show rituals?
Pre-show? We don't have any rituals, really. We just kind of... music is essential because often you've been sitting down a lot all day. Like on this tour, sort of starting to write, so it's just a lot with sitting at a laptop or playing an instrument or whatever. So you're in quite a sort of deflated state. So we've got to pump some music on, just like get up, start stretching, dancing. And sometimes the backstages are really small, so you can only use the space that you have. But that's kind of it, really.
Backstage party.
Yeah, just try and get the blood moving. Yeah, I'll probably sometimes do some yoga if I feel like I really need a kick. That's kind of it. And then we just go and play our show.
And do you motivate each other when someone is like tired before a show? Do you motivate each other to stand up and do it?
Yeah, we tried to. I think if one person looks like they're in a slump, then they start to sort of drag everyone else down. So you're like, Chris, come on, get up. Like, we've got a gig to play here. Get focused.
Yeah.
We're quite disciplined as well. Like, we sort of say, like, an hour before the show, everyone has to close their laptops. Like, if you're on the phone, get off the phone. Like, we just, like, start concentrating. And I need an hour because it takes me about 50 minutes to decide what to wear. So. And the other 10 minutes is doing my hair. So, yeah, I need that time.
Okay, cool. Any questions?
Are there any specific venues or cities that you're looking forward to on the tour?
On this tour, yeah. Where are we going?
Probably.
Get your laminate out.
Definitely looking forward to getting back to Berlin. We're playing a lot of places that we wouldn't normally play, actually. I'm trying to take a sticker off my laminate so I can see the dates, but it's not working. Where else are we playing? I don't remember playing. I don't remember playing Tilburg at all. Like, I don't remember. I think we played it like 6 years ago or something. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the city today, hopefully.
Yeah, the venue looks nice. Yeah, we really enjoy coming. Well, I don't know about Robert Howe. I certainly really enjoy coming to Holland. Really lovely people. I always say that Dutch people speak the best English, like even better than English people.
Yeah, we try our best.
Yeah, and everyone's so friendly. I always thought if there was somewhere that I was going to sort of move away from the UK for a year or something, then it would be Holland.
Yeah, you hear that a lot from people who want to get out of our country and then go to the Netherlands. I usually don't get why.
There's something about the place. Just lovely people. I love the architecture as well. It's a very sort of artistic and creative country and people. Yeah, I just.
And where have you been in the Netherlands? Like apart from Tilburg?
We've done Eindhoven.
Amsterdam, an awful lot.
Yeah.
We did Rotterdam once, quite a few years ago. Don't know if you remember that show.
That's probably it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably about it.
Else to play? Yeah. It's not
Okay,
that
cool.
many cities, isn't it?
Yeah. Any questions? Still? No? Okay, let's listen to the next song. Shirin Yoku. Is that how you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? I've got such a hard time with that name.
I mean, we would just say Shinrin Yoku, but
Shirin Yoku.
I think Japanese, they usually, they don't really have an emphasis. Like in a lot of languages, you put an emphasis on the first syllable or, you know, some sort of syllable. So it's just Shinrin Yoku.
Okay.
Just all the one. The.
Okay, let's listen to that.
Of the forest. I imagine this is the polar opposite of suffocation. My lungs seem to gain extra capacity here, and I feel like an empty inbox as I contemplate the ultimate assault course. The roots, the stumps, the branches. I squint into eternity as I try to get to grips with the fact that we have no idea what we're dealing with. My lungs fill with air. I feel supercharged now. My lungs fill with air. I feel supercharged. My lungs fill with air. I feel supercharged now. My lungs fill with air. I feel supercharged.
Yeah, still in the studio, Enter Shikari.
Woo! Yeah.
So, still feeling okay?
Yeah.
A bit more awake?
Still awake. Still, we haven't passed off back to sleep again yet. Fallen asleep onto the microphone.
Don't think that would be pretty ideal for the interview.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the tour and about you as a band, and now big thing, the music. Where do you get your inspiration from? Because you've got so many styles.
Well, yeah, as I was saying earlier, we're just spoilt really to have grown up around so many different styles. And you know, we are our environment. We just absorbed everything. And when we went to start creating music, then it just came out like very diverse.
Yeah, and is there any artist who inspired you to start making music?
To start making music?
Yeah, so way back.
Well, way back then in the day, I suppose we were all listening to whatever our parents were listening to. So there was a lot of the Beatles, so the Rolling Stones era, that kind of music, Led Zeppelin and so on.
My nan used to listen to loads of Glenn Miller, and that's what made me pick up the trumpet. The trumpet was the first instrument I learned. So it was probably the first influence, like big band jazz music.
Yeah, and then these days it's all sorts. Everything from classical composers to noisier to punk rock bands to but basically anything we can get our hands on.
Yeah, and do you have any favorite styles? So
favorite styles.
I think there's a time and a place for every style.
Yeah.
It depends what mood I'm in.
yeah. Okay, cool. And what kind of instrument is according to you the best instrument to make music with?
Cello.
And why?
Because I think it's the prettiest sounding instrument there is, and I wish I could play it. Maybe I'll pick up lessons when I get the opportunity.
Yeah. And for you?
Maybe piano. I've always wanted a piano in my house. I've never had one, so it still has this, like, every time I see a real piano, I'm like, oh, I want to play it.
But can you play the piano?
Not like, I've never had lessons or anything. I mean, I can play, but I'm not.
Come to the show tonight and find out.
yeah. I mean, I play keys on stage, like synths.
Okay.
So you know, it's obviously pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Question?
Yes. If there's any instrument that you haven't used in one of your songs yet, what would it be? What would you really want to use in a song in the future?
We've used quite a lot of interesting instruments. I mean, we had a full-on church organ in our second album. We've used a dool, an Indian drum. We've used an accordion,
flute,
all sorts.
Dulcet tone.
Yeah, the dulcet tone. I'm trying to think of one instrument.
Well, we won't use the bagpipes because I think Korn have sort of
taken that one.
Yeah, I got that one covered. What else is a weird instrument?
I feel like the Beatles did the sitar quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. The harp, maybe.
The harp, yeah. Although not. God, there's a band that I can never remember the name of, but I was watching live that used the harp, but very different audience. So yeah. The harp. There you go. That's our answer.
Okay, really cool. So you've used a lot of instruments, and which one was your favorite to use in a song?
I loved it putting the dulcet tone on the last album. It's just such an incredible noise. It's so beautiful.
It's in what's the studio called?
Angelic,
yeah, which is a really cool studio in Nottinghamshire in England, and it's on so many records. This specific dulcimer, and it's kind of like a little bit broken. So some of the keys make a sort of crack and a clack sound, which just gives it even more beautiful character to it.
In fact, you just heard it on Shinrin Yoku that we were just listening to.
Yeah, and it's on all sorts of modern stuff. Like the guy whose studio it is, he was the keyboardist in Jamiroquai, wrote loads of stuff and has a load of collection of amazing synths and of different dulcimers and stuff. So it's on a lot of his stuff. 1975 used it on their last record as well. So it's this one dulcimer which is just beautiful.
Really cool. And the album is called The Spark. Who came with the name for the album?
Well, the name is always like the last thing to come. We're always kind of racking our brains and pulling our hair out and trying to get the name and just kind of looking through the lyrics and listening to the music, you know, just trying to decide what to call it. And I think it's the spark as a word is in Take My Country Back. It's just in one of the verses. It's not even a particularly like defining moment in the track. It's just in like one of the lines, like sparking fury against one's neighbour. And just there's just something about that word that seemed to sum up the whole album, because the whole album is like kind of about coming through a difficult period of life, and it's that spark, that little flash of the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever, just like coming through it. And yeah, it just seemed to work so well. And at the same time, I was writing a little 30-second intro piece that became The Spark, and it was just such a fresh sort of soundscape that again, it just lent itself really well to that word.
Yeah, and it's a pretty personal album. Isn't it scary to make an album a bit personal?
I think it would have been if I didn't feel ready, like if I felt sort of pressured to write, you know, deeply personal lyrics. In previous albums, it probably would have been scary, but I think with this album, it just felt like that's what needed to be done. So I felt compelled to do it, really. It didn't feel scary. I think the last year the year of making it and the year before, I'd been opening up quite a lot online, about mental health or whatever, and I think that emboldened me to be able to write music about it as well.
And how did people react on you being personal online?
Really well. You know, a lot of the stigmas are being completely broken down now. So it's like people are very open to this kind of thing and having these discussions. And, you know, almost everyone has has gone through some sort of mental health problem or will do in their lives. So it's like everyone can relate now. Whereas before, I think it wasn't just a stigma. A lot of people were just ignorant. If you had a mental health problem, you just thought that was what your brain was like. You don't know what was happening, but you just got on with it and try and deal with it best you can. And so now people are a lot less ignorant, and we're all kind of sharing our experiences and our ideas together. It's much more healthy.
And how did you try to with your mental health problems? How did you get through it?
All sorts, really. It's just about like building your own toolbox. So for me, I think just being more conscious of myself, like how I'm feeling and how I'm coping. So like, you know, in 2015 there was a lot of exhaustion, and there was a lot of like self-medicating as well. So it's about knowing what your body can take and knowing your limits. And then, I think things like, you know, as I was saying earlier, like yoga and reading, like having those things that balance the craziness. You can't just rely on adrenaline for 6 months. Like you have to like come down and relax. So it's just, it's all about the balance, really. And then things like cognitive behavioral therapy was a really big help. And in general, just like getting to grips with psychology, really, and trying to learn more about that, and all the things that can help.
Good. Question?
What would you suggest for someone who is going through something similar that you went through?
Well, definitely not to bottle it up. I mean, that seems quite obvious in this day and age. But sometimes it can be hard to take that first leap to speak about a problem, especially if you don't know what it is. You don't really know how to define it. You just sort of go, well, I'm feeling like this and I have trouble with doing this or whatever, and just try and work out, what it is that you have. And then you can sort of go from there in terms of helping yourself fix the problem, or at least deal with it better than just being in the dark. So just being open and being bold and being confident.
Okay, really good. Do you have any questions left? No? Okay, so I've got 3 more questions, which goes about lyrics of a song. First off, from Live Outside, I've got a sentence, and I'm really curious about what it means.
Cool.
Okay, so it's I keep taming, keep training, keep taming the horse, but it's wild, it's feral, and it's running its course. Patiently, madness waits in line in the reception room of my mind.
Yeah.
What do you mean with that?
Well, that whole song it's very apt, because that song especially is about mental health and about anxiety and rumination. So like when something's just going round and round in your head, like a worry or a fear, and you can't see, seemingly have no control over it, and it's just you can't stop thinking about it. That's the horse, basically. You can't seem to tame it. You can't. It's just there, and it's just running round and round. Yeah. Like, oh my god. And yeah, sometimes it can, like, for me, that when it was worse, like back in 2015, I had a few months of just really bad insomnia. I had like this big panic attack, and it basically took me a while to recover from that. And that literally felt like at some points I was going mad, and I'd just be sitting there and I could just like feel this just surge of just, well, when you're really sleep deprived, like your brain is very hard to feel like you're in control, you're in the driving seat. So any minute it can feel like, as I say, the madness is just waiting for that moment where you're off guard and it'll just pounce on you and just be taken away.
And how did you handle that?
I can only repeat what I've said, really. So I did CBT. I saw a psychologist.
Yeah, so that really helps for the same problem, actually, for the different problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And tried to sort of calm my life and create the balance, and all those extra things.
Okay, for the second song, an ode to lost jigsaw pieces. Awoke with a face like crumbled plastic bag in a bottle, when everyone in this town is a bag for life.
Yeah.
What do you mean with that?
Well, I just thought the imagery, we've all seen like a dirty street on like a miserable day when there's a puddle and there's just like some rubbish in it, like literally a scrunched plastic bag. That imagery just felt perfect for how I felt, just miserable. And also there's phonetically, it's really pleasing to say and to sing. All the different consonants and sounds are just quite pleasing to hear. And the bag for life, so that was when I just split up from a 7-year relationship, and I'd felt very comforted by having someone, and then suddenly I was single, and it feels very disorientating and scary, because that happened at quite a late point in my life. Most people my age are settling down. It felt that made it extra scary because everyone had their bag for life, which is a strange metaphor for a partner, basically. It felt like a powerful way to open the song.
Okay, and is it hard to sing that on stage?
Never sang it on stage, probably never will.
No?
I don't think we'll play that song. I mean, maybe, but the second half of it is all about the death of my nan, so it's like, whew, it's pretty tough to do. Maybe we'll attempt it, but it might end with me just sniveling into the mic and breaking down. So.
Is it also hard to listen to the song?
I haven't really listened to it much. Like the strings, so the start of the second movement where the strings come in, there's just something so intensely powerful for me in those strings that just sort of, every time I hear it, it's just like a slap around the face, and it takes me back to that time. So yeah, I don't know. I'd never thought we'll never play a song live, but if that does happen, then that would be the one that wouldn't get played.
Yeah, have you listened to it recently, or
No,
just a long time ago?
Not at all. Yeah.
Okay. And for the last song, Shirin and Yoko, we are the dust on a stained glass windows, trying to comprehend the cathedral.
Yeah. Well, that's just all about our seeming insignificance. I think that the only way I could find a visual metaphor was something so insignificant and then something so grand, but on our level, not the level of the universe, but on something that we can visualize and we can understand. So when you compare a speck of dust, which is just nothing effectively, to the grand nature of a cathedral, which is, arguably one of humanity's finest architectural achievements, and it's something that's so beautiful, especially the stained glass window. It's something that's really is quite magical, whether you're religious or spiritual or not. It's still a beautiful thing. So yeah, it just felt like the right visuals to be able to get across. I don't want to say pathetic, because that's too much, but as a species, even though our intelligence and our knowledge increases every day, like tenfold, we're a very knowledgeable and determined species. But the more we find out, the more we sort of realise there's so much we don't know, and there's more we don't know. So we're really very kind of naive and ignorant as a species, even though we're arguably the most intelligent. So it just felt like a good metaphor to try and get that across.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that all those lyrics.
No worries.
So for the last song, I did plan to play an ode to the last jigsaw pieces. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay, do you want to announce it yourself? Because it's the end of the interview, so I really want to thank you for being in the studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us in.
Yeah, and have fun with the tour.
Thank you, we will.
And in Tilburg already tonight, so...
It's going to be fun.
And the last song?
Yeah, no, this is awesome, because I don't know if this has ever been played on the radio. It's not exactly the most radio-friendly song, was it? Like 6 minutes or something? But yeah, enjoy. This is Enter Shikari with Ode to Lost Jigsaw Pieces.
If this is a siege, I'll wait this out. I'll wait this out. I'll wait this out. If this is a siege, I'll wait this out. I'll wait this out, but I'm full of doubt. I awoke with a face like a crumpled plastic bag in a puddle, when everyone in this town has a bag for life. He said my life is a total mess. It's 8 p.m. and I'm not even dressed, and oh how I miss your Prosecco glazed lips. I miss them like a majority of modern mainstream music misses an original metaphor for missing someone. I was so scared of confronting the world.